Welcome back, bonnet heads. Hello, hello, hello. How are you? We are here for part 2 with Alison Arngrim. But before we get there, I must introduce you to Manly with the good hair. And that's my hashtag imaginary boyfriend, Dean Butler, right here. But I have to tell you, I stole the Manly with the good hair from Natalie's channel.
I like the sound. I like the sound effect. Wow.
It's very Beyonce. It's a Beyonce quote.
Well, hello.
Last week, I was talking about the hair and the hat hair, and I couldn't think of the clever, title. Yeah. And then she, gave it to me.
And then she gave it to you. Can count on Beyonce to give you that thing.
Yeah, or Natalie's channel 7675. Yes.
Okay. So how are you doing?
Well, I had a bit of a mishap right before we got on this recording because I went to the eye doctor this week and she suggested that I change my saline solution for my contacts. And so she told me which one to get. She even got it for me on Amazon. Done. It came today. I'm excited. I have eye health realness happening.
Yeah.
And I went to put in my contacts right before we got online here. And almost died because who knew it was actually peroxide.
Oh my God. Peroxide?
Am I right?
In your eye?
It was made with peroxide.
Okay. So it wasn't like full strength peroxide. Just
was not full, but it filmed.
But enough, like
full strength peroxide.
Wow.
So my eye's just a little gimpy right now. Hence, Dean called me sexy.
Well, no, I was going to say, I think you have a very tasty look this morning.
Ooh, I'll take it, Manly with the good hair. You know what else cracked me up? One of our viewers, one of our listeners wrote in the YouTube comments, like, I think you said something about asked Allison if she took bong hits last week.
Oh, did I? Oh, I did, didn't I? Yeah, I did.
And he was like, I can't get over Almanzo asking about bong hits. So that made me
cool. Well, see, and no one expects that. And I've never taken a hit from a bong. I've barely taken a toke from like maybe once or twice. I think maybe 3 times in my life. The first time was terrific. It was, and had a great nap afterwards. And after that, it just made me paranoid. And I said, I don't need that. I just, yeah. So, and that was during the Gidget years that I did that. So, we're on the beach. 80s? There was no prairie. That was mid 80s. So no toking on the prairie.
No morphine on the prairie.
Yeah, nothing not for me. And right. but I did have my marijuana experience during the Gidget years. And
is this in your book, Dean?
It is. Is it? Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Love it.
And that's coming. So we're going to be talking about
transition.
Yeah.
Segue,
so we have
baby.
Prairie Man coming out on June 25th. Very excited about that. I'm doing a signing in Simi Valley on the 25th and at the Grove in Los Angeles on the 27th.
And Can I say something about the Grove on the 27th? When I saw that on social media, I'm not going to lie, I felt a little left out of this one because it's you and Allison together on the stage.
Do you want to fly out?
I would love to fly out, but I'm not going to crash your party. Are you serious?
Well, you could absolutely crash the party, but you may not want. I'd love to be able to just gift you with this ticket.
Yeah, I'll just I'll just crash the Barnes and Noble.
It would be awesome if you could crash the Barnes and Noble. It really would.
Crazier things have happened. So TBD. Should we just get right to it?
I think we should because there's a lot to talk about. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let's bring her in. Everybody's favorite Prairie Bitch. I even feel bad saying that, but then I watch the show and I'm like, oh yeah, she really.
Yeah, no, absolutely, no apologies.
Everybody's favorite Prairie Bitch, Alison Arngrim. Welcome, Allison.
Look at her, and in glasses too.
I am wearing my glasses in solidarity with you. I feel bad. Dean has glasses. These are my reading glasses. So if I actually try to look at anything in the room with these, it's a huge freaking blur. But if I need to read the fine print on my makeup, it's like, wow, I can read all the 0.117 grams. Okay.
Well, no. Well, can you read? Can you read without your glasses on?
Most things. It's like, how tiny is the font? It's like, I can read that. I can read that. Okay, probably down here on the water, the little tiny part. I can't read that.
No. I can't read 12-point type without my glasses on. And there's no way.
I can't even read the tiny type with my glasses on. That's how blind I am.
Well, that explains so much.
Ingredients, prescriptions.
Story of my life.
I'm supposed to
At least I look like the sexy secretary,
You look great. Yeah. These are, I call these the envelope please glasses, just in case I have to whip them out and do the thing.
We want to get right into it. We did so much on the show last week, and we want to transition to your life after the show and things that you've done that have, I think, made wonderful contributions to so many people. So Pamela wants to jump right in here with a question.
I do. First, I think I should say that we are here with you from the studios of UBN Go in Burbank.
Oh, that's right. We didn't do that, did we?
You guys are in Burbank. No, we didn't do that because we assume everyone knows that this is the Little House 50th Anniversary Podcast. Huzzah! Joining us, everybody. Okay, now we can talk to Allison.
Okay.
Ready? Okay. Let's go in. And so many people have written in asking as well. So let's just go in straight from the top for a deep dive of all things Steve Tracy.
Oh, this whole thing's been somewhere between therapy and being arrested. The stuff you've been asking me. It's like, okay. Yes, our beloved Steve.
These are the important topics, my friend. But of course, we know Steve Tracy as Percival, who was your husband on the show. I don't know how they managed to find the most perfect person to end up with Nellie Olson, but they sure as heck did. Can you please tell us about Steve? You tell us about your experience with him on the show, and please tell us how he ended up influencing your life for the rest of your life, will you?
Well, an amazing person. As you saw, it's like, wow, when they found Percival, did they find Percival? And they did read half the town. I've met people who said, oh my God, I auditioned for Percival. I so wanted to do that. And I'm like going, glad it wasn't you. Okay. Sorry, dude, but no. Because, Melissa and I are sitting there going, who's the guy? Who's the guy? Because you don't get to pick your husband. And we're waiting, we knew short guy, comedy relief. So every short guy who walked onto the soundstage, we sat him.
Did they tell you short guy, comedy relief, or you assumed that?
Because Michael decided to come running into makeup while he was writing it. Okay. And I'm getting and he's bounding into the room going, okay, you're getting married, and runs out of the room. And then comes back and he's really short, but he won't take anything off of anybody. Runs out of the cup. And he's Jewish and runs out. And I'm like, the heck is going on? And then I come out, Michael's in his dressing room, left-handed with the big yellow legal pad. He's writing. I go, you're writing this now. You're writing this now, aren't you? So totally insane. And what's really weird is Michael went on the Tonight Show right when it aired and said, I based these characters on my parents. My mother was tall and blonde and domineering, and my father was short and Jewish, and I really hoped that one day he would stand up to her. And I'm going, I'm 17 and a half, and he thinks I'm his mom.
He said that
on television, on TV, to Johnny Carson. He said it.
I think that's awesome.
I was 18, and I reminded him of his mother, and that the psychological implications of that don't even. Yeah.
No, the way I hear about his mother, you were much more, you're benignly.
I was nicer than his mother.
Benignly wicked. You were not.
Yeah. Nellie also was nicer than his mom. Sorry. But yeah. So he had a lot of. Michael did a lot of things that were his personal therapy on the show. That's been a given, the good childhood he didn't have. So this was another thing he was working out, bringing in the little Jewish guy who's a tough guy. And so we knew that.
Talk about therapy.
Right. So I'm thinking, though, in Hollywood, you know how Hollywood is. When they say it's going to be a comedic guy, it means character actor, which is from that part of the player's directory, not the leading man, which means he might not be good looking. They might get an ugly guy because it's Hollywood, and that's what they.
Well, you wouldn't say ugly guy, a quirky guy, a charactery guy.
And under the character quirky, there are handsome, quirky character guys. There are cute, quirky, and then there's not so much. So I don't know.
Ones that are definitely not considered conventionally.
Not conventionally attractive. I don't know who they're bringing in, and I'm like, oh boy. And then this adorable creature comes in. He these freckles, a band of freckles going right across his nose, and the curliest hair you just wanted to run barefoot through, and these little round glasses like that. And we're like, oh, please let it be. He looks so nice. He's cute. He's adorable.
Before he even went in.
He had. He'd been hired and arrived, and we were like, yeah, we literally had no idea who was going to be.
Michael did not do chemistry reads, so Allison did not have an opportunity. I mean, she did with a few people later on, but during the run of the show, when he was there, when he knew he was going to be there were no chemistry.
They just fling them at you.
It's really fascinating.
It's an arranged marriage in Hollywood. You're sold into marriage, and the women of the village gather to wait to see who. And he showed him. We went, funny. Well, he's cute. So Melissa and I interrogated, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite band? What's your favorite movie? And he turned out to be really cool, and he had all the right answers.
No one interrogated me.
Yes, isn't that terrible? We should have. At least done that.
That's how really terrifying it was.
Then you know you're in trouble.
There was no interrogation.
We didn't even interrogate you. Ooh.
How old was Steve?
He was, I guess, 10 years old than me because he was like 27.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Because, he was like about 9 years. He was 9 years older than me, so 26, 27, right in there.
He had a great presence.
He's adorable.
He was really fun. You
Very
knew
focused.
that he was... You sensed his talent right away. You knew his craft was very together. He knew what he was doing. And watching them work together was really fun.
He'd studied with everybody. He studied with everybody in New York. He came out to LA, to all the serious acting classes. Plus, then he had been for years with the Harvey Lembeck improv workshop, which I later took, that he turned me on to. And so he knew his stuff. And so he comes in and we talk. And right away, as soon as doing it, it's immediately pop, 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 like as if we had been rehearsing for weeks. We're doing rapid fire screwball comedy on top of each other's lines like we've known each other forever. And we're going, well, that's crazy. And he even, in an interview shortly after, got interviewed, was saying, oh, you're on this new show. You're just, and he was saying her remarkable comedy timing. And I'm like, I'm 17. He didn't have to say that about me. Wow. And so he was very cool. He did smoke, but he had his little banaka in the coat pocket at all times. So before scenes. We hit it off immediately. The episode was airing where I got married, and he was having a party at his house, which I was not supposed to know was happening because I wasn't invited. But a friend of his called me.
Is that because you were underage, or
because he hadn't told everyone he was gay yet.
Oh.
Oops. And it was in the 1979, 80s. Still, things were weird. Yeah. People were very weird. And he wasn't sure how anyone felt. He just met us. And so...
Oh, so you mean people in the cast didn't know?
No.
Because his community of people...
His friends knew.
Okay, got it.
But his mom knew, but... He didn't know how people in showbiz were going to take it, his age and what. So he was having a party, and a friend of mine, of course, called and went, hey, Steve's having a party. So, of course, we all get together. Me and my friends were like, let's crash it. And I showed up at his house. I did call right before I went, we're totally crashing your party. And he's like, okay. So I show up.
That was very decent of you to call him in advance.
I couldn't. I was like, oh, come on, you guys. I said, hang on, I'll be a minute. I'll be in the car. Dude, we're crashing your party. So we did show up, and I was the only girl there. And it quickly we went, and he was like, gave me a tour of the apartment. It was hilarious. And he was like being very proper. And I was like, and he was like, okay, duh, you hadn't figured it out by now. I guess there you go.
So he hadn't told you at that point. No. Got it. Okay.
And so it was right. And so he's like, well, there you go. If I was planning on not telling you, I guess that cat's out of the bag. Have a drink, and everything was fine. So we hung out.
He couldn't have trusted a more trustworthy person.
And he didn't realize that we made one episode together either. So from here on, we become great friends. We're hanging out together so much. Oh, he'd gotten a new car. He got that Datsun 280Z. So he'd pick me up and drive me to work. So people thought he was sleeping over. They didn't know what was going on. People were not, they didn't know what was happening. They go, are those two like best friends? Are they getting high? Are they in bed together? What is going on with these two? They had no idea. It's just like we hung out together. So we get to our bedroom scene where the twins, and I'm pregnant, going to have we don't know I'm going to have twins, but the Jewish parents and the Olsons are fighting over whether the baby's going to, and we're just like, I give up. So finally, Mr. Olson has come with a thing. If it's a boy, he'll be Jewish. If it's a girl, he'll be Gentile, blah, 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 which okay, if you're Orthodox Jewish, no, I know you can't do that. You can't do that.
A little problem.
It has to be one or the other, and preferably the mother needs to be Jewish or have converted.
Yes.
We know. Don't tell Michael Landon. But there you go.
He knew that too.
He knew that too, but because his mother was not Jewish and he decided he was.
He identifies as Jewish.
He
identified as
absolutely
Jewish,
bar mitzvah and everything. So there you are.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
The bit was we're in bed and we finally are giggling and laughing with relief at the silliness of all this and how can these people fight? And we go into giggling fits. Well, of course we're in giggling fits because Steve and I were in giggling fits generally all the time anyway. And then we started giggling at the whole idea of the two of us being in bed together. We were both wearing funny underwear with cartoons on them and like showing them to each other. And then
underneath your flannel,
hiking up our flannel ladies going, what is your underwear? Say, because we're like idiots. And then, of course, the fact
that never happened with Melissa Gilbert.
No, you did not show each other your underwear with cartoon sayings on them.
Oh,
that didn't come
never happened.
I had on panties.
What a difference 2 years makes.
I had panties that did Friends Forever. I was like, huh. So we're laughing. And then also at some point, the fact that I knew he was gay by then, and we realized that other people didn't, sent us into complete hysterics. As we started laughing, then we couldn't stop laughing. And there was a moment when Michael came over to okay, yeah, keep it going. And then he realized he didn't have to tell us to keep it going because we're hysterical. And he went, okay, I have no idea what you two are doing, and walked away. And just went, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
And it's a great
rolling
scene.
And that's the famous laughing scene. We had so much fun. I think eventually Melissa Gilbert went, hey, wait a minute. Oh, it like finally the tumblers turned. But not everyone got it. And then there was a thing, because there was a rumor, the National Enquirer, because don't we just love our old friends at the Enquirer?
Sure.
God, the things these people did. So there was rumor, like, what is going on? Are you dating? So his publicist and my publicist, we all had a little party and said, sure, we'll get invited to all the good parties. So it was Valentine's Day, and Steve and I told the tablets, yes, we're madly in love. And we bought Valentines for each other and gifts. It was lovely. We had a great time. We went to different parts of the store. We weren't allowed to peek, and we actually bought each other the same card. See, we were linked mentally. And we're in love. And
that's sort of cute.
It was adorable, and it made everybody happy. And we also did get invited to things because we were considered a couple. So we got invited to like events and game shows and stuff. We're like, hell yeah.
Wow.
So we were like, let's work that. And we were really good friends. We did hang out and go to concerts and stuff and do stuff all the time. So it totally made sense. And then one day he calls me and says, I'm sick. And it was really one of those really unsettling calls I talked about in the book where he had people there couldn't talk. I'm sick. What do you have? I can't talk right now. And I'm like, oh my God, it's like really bad. I'm like, okay, we're going to do bigger than a bread box here,
How aware were you at the timing of this? How present was HIV in the public's consciousness at that time?
I was in West Hollywood with a lot of gay friends, so we knew it was starting to happen, but we really didn't know much about it. Joan Rivers was the first person. She did a benefit in 82 called Can We Talk? Raise money for APLA. Yeah. So it was starting to happen, but I wasn't involved in APLA, and I think we were still talking about how we needed to make sandwiches and take them out because people weren't eating enough, clearly, at the bars. We had no idea what the hell was going on. It was Grid, I think it was called then. So we really didn't get what was happening yet. We knew something was up, and people were definitely dying, but the general thing was we didn't know why. And then, that disease was in New York. Right. Is that the thing? And it was like really early stages of catching on. The hotline was just being formed back then, too. So Steve calls and says he's sick. And I literally was like, okay, we'll do yes or no questions. First he said, I'm in trouble. And I was like, legal, physical, or mental? And he said, physical. Are you sick? Yes. I said, does it start with a C? And he said, yes. And I can't. So basically I got out of him cancer. Well, yes, he had Kaposi sarcoma. He had the age-related cancer.
Okay.
And so it wasn't a lie. He had cancer, all right. But, and then it was so many months after that, he called and said, okay, yeah, you probably may have figured this out already, but yes, it's AIDS. I have AIDS-related cancer, and I'm going public with my diagnosis. He was so smart.
Title is so upsetting.
He knew about AIDS. He went to the doctor and said, I think I have Kaposi sarcoma. Look at this thing on my leg. And the doctor said, it's a blood blister. And he said, maybe not. Are you reading he'd read more articles than the doctor had. He knew what was happening. He said, look, I'm a gay man. It's 1980, whatever, 2, 3 it was. This is LA. I know what happens. There's no test yet, Bob. I think I'm having these symptoms. I'm having swollen glands. I have this thing. I believe I have the thing. I have AIDS-related complex grid, whatever they're calling it. And it took him 4 doctors before he got to UCLA, and they ran the right tests and said, yeah, you're not dumb. You're right, buddy. I'm sorry. You do have Kaposi's sarcoma. You're smarter than the last 3 doctors you just talked to. So that's the kind of person he was. So there were no treatments. There was nothing. There wasn't even AZT yet. It was like nothing. The prognosis back then, I think they gave you 8 or 9 months to live. It was horrible. So he goes public and he's like going on TV and stuff. And I called it the Linda Evans position because remember when Rock Hudson did go public, everyone asked Linda Evans, well, you kissed him on TV. Do you have AIDS? Which is like, now we go, but back then, people didn't know anything.
No one knew anything. So of course people were terrified about everything.
And I was having to tell people we did not exchange bodily fluids on the prairie. It was not that kind of show, thank you. And that's not how that works. And we don't even know if he was infected then. And what are you talking about? So many people asked me questions, and it was so crazy. I started calling around for assistance. I was referred to someone at, I think, USC, a doctor who gave me some basic parameters so I could answer questions. And eventually, I was directed to the Southern California AIDS hotline, coincidentally run by a guy named Bob Schoonover, who I eventually became really good friends with.
The infamous Bob, go get the wig.
As in, get the wig Schoonover.
Yeah.
Running the hotline. It was very When Harry Met Sally. So I went down there and I volunteered.
And Bob had a history of causative things.
Bob ran a drug hotline in Ohio. He worked at a methadone clinic in LA. In fact, that's why he was there, because he worked at a methadone clinic and the articles started coming about AIDS. He went to his boss and said, clearly this is going to affect our population. It is bloodborne. We are dealing with people who have been using needles. We need to address this and have AIDS counseling and talk to them about the risks. And his boss said, oh, I don't know if we talk to our clients about their sex lives. And he said, but, okay, first of all, yeah, we do. Where have you been? And then he said, this is about they share the needle. You do know how this works, right? And he said, oh my God, do you have no idea how AIDS worked? And she didn't. She was like, well, we don't have that many gay people. And we don't. And he went, you don't know that anyone can get it if there's a blood transmission. So you don't know that we're talking with a population that's been using needles and anything. And he said that's when he quit because he couldn't work for someone that dumb. And he, next thing he knew, he was applying for a job at AIDS Project Los Angeles, where he said, I think they might know what they're doing.
I'm just curious, like, at that time, this is a very small subset of the population that even has any kind of causative awareness.
And it's only because I was hard of West Hollywood hanging out with with my 8 bazillion gay friends that I knew anything about this. Most people, they knew.
But culturally, how isolating, how much apart from sort of the mainstream of the culture did you feel as you were stepping into something that was obviously going to be very serious? People
did freak out. I remember my roommate Sharon, her aunt called and asked, has he been in the house? And people were like really freaked. Of course, her aunt was considered kind of dotty and she didn't listen to her. My favorite was when the Inquirer was calling the apartment. And I wasn't ready to talk to them because I said to Steve, he said he was holding out for People magazine. Was that Steve? And he said, don't talk to the Inquirer. Oh no, I'm holding out for People. But he did make a deal with the Inquirer. He got the cover. So he knew what he was doing. But people were calling the house and and the Inquirer called and they got my roommate. And it was her time of the month and she had a hangover. And she's a redhead to begin with. And she answered the phone at 8 a.m. It was the Inquirer. And I think that man's still deaf in one ear. So I just let her answer the phone during this, and they didn't call back. So, yeah, she was a holy terror. So we say, you answer the phone. That'll fix him. And then Steve said, I've made a deal with the Inquirer. And he got a whole page, and he got a cover thing, and they plugged the show he was doing up. Michael Kearns was producing AIDS Us, a whole piece with people with AIDS telling their actual real stories, and they got that plugged. Of course, what was it? Something about fights dread disease. I mean, they made it as salacious as possible, but then they talked about how he will be bravely fighting this disease, blah, 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 blah. And I went, well, that's all right. My favorite headline that came out when I started volunteering was TV Bitch Fights Scourge of AIDS. That's a real title from a paper in Toronto.
I saw that. This is so funny, Allison, that two days ago or something, my mother texted me and left me a voicemail saying like, oh, I just saw Allison on this documentary.
Yes.
I'm sure you know about it. I was like, what are you I had no idea what she was talking about. But it's a documentary called Commitment to Life about the AIDS movement in LA. And Bob is in it, and Allison is in it, and it's an extraordinary documentary. And I think she saw it because they just put it out on Frontline on PBS.
It's finally out on PBS.
You can watch it on Peacock.
It's huge. It focuses a lot on AIDS Project Los Angeles, but also Commitment to Life, the celebrity reaction to AIDS, the fact that APLA had the Commitment to Life and all these stars, and Elizabeth Taylor stepping forward, and the whole history of how Elizabeth Taylor got that going. And of course, Steve Peters, the Reverend Peters, who just died, became a focal point of it because
I really
one
urge
of
everyone to
the
watch
first
it.
clients. And then Bob
really
gets interviewed. I get interviewed. It's amazing. Bruce Valanche is in. Everybody's in it. It's, it's a great documentary.
How much a part of your life? So here, this is something that this situation enters your life in the early to mid 80s. Now here we are 40 years later. How much a part of your life is all of this still?
Oh, it's huge because when I volunteered, and at that point, as I said, it was Joan Rivers, Elizabeth Taylor, Madonna, and Morgan Fairchild, and me were the celebrities. I was like, okay, 5 broads in high heels to save the world.
Cool,
that's it.
actually.
We're on our own here.
Yeah. And you see that in this doc. I mean, it's,
wow.
I remember when the red ribbon was invented and nobody would put it on. And it was the stigma was just like insane. I remember when AIDS and HIV was not legally a handicap under ADA, and it was legal to throw some out of their house, and they did. You could be thrown out of your apartment legally for having AIDS or being positive, fired from your job legally. Everything. People were in the streets. So it was like, all of that went on. And so it was fairly intense. So I was working in that, and Steve had support. Steve Tracy had, his mother and sister flew out from Tampa, Florida to take care of him. He had friends. He had doctors. He had medical research. He had like enough money to go to the doctor. And a lot of people, of course, did not. So I volunteered to help those who were not getting those things. And then because of all the questions coming at me, I took the hotline training, which is like a 5-week thing, and you take an exam, and it was Bob ran it, so it was really serious, and you had to pass an exam, and you had to know all of the answers to everything. And it's very OCD. And I did. I got the highest exam ever achieved at that time. I only got like one.
Of course, you are wicked smart.
Somebody got 100 after me, but I got 98. So we did. So we it was incredible. But what happened is, yes, even after he died, I kept doing this. The need was still there. Me and a guy named Barry Horton actually started an organization called Tuesday's Child for families with children with HIV and AIDS who were not being fully served. There weren't a lot of services for them at that time. APLA had like one case manager who took kids. They didn't stock children's formula or diapers or children's products in the food bank yet, and all these things weren't. So they were going to AIDS agencies and they go, we don't have anything for your kids. I'm sorry. And so we said, hi, I guess we'll do that. And we coordinated with other agencies, but we did that. And I did a bunch of stuff. And of course, then I met the director of the Southern California AIDS Hotline, Bob, get the wig Schoonover. And we became friends. And basically, it's the plot of Harry Met Sally. You know, I got married. He had a girlfriend. And eventually, we wound up divorced and broken up at a table going, God, you wouldn't want to go out with me, would you? Oh, yeah. Oh, there's an idea. And now we've been married 30 years. So, boom. But it was when Harry met Sally, and I wouldn't have met him because that happened. But I wound up speaking literally all over the world, all over the country, different ages. Everyone was so weirded out. They'd say, do you want someone to come and talk to you about HIV and AIDS? About not necessarily safer sex, but just like how to take care of someone, basic precautions if you were taking care of a sick person in your home who had HIV, how to talk to your loved ones, what to do, really basic stuff. No, it's too weird. We can't have someone talk about AIDS here. We have Alison Arngrim, who was on Little House on the Prairie. Oh, send her over.
Yeah, right.
I spoke at all the religious schools. I spoke at churches. I spoke at prison. I spoke everywhere.
But another example of how being Nellie has served
no question
completely a greater purpose in this life.
So no. So
how long?
Wait a second. Before you jump into this new subject, I think we need.
No, it's not a new subject. I just want to say how long from the phone conversation when he said I'm in trouble to when he passed.
I want to say 2 years because maybe 2 years ish because he outlived the 9 months. He fought really hard, but by about a year and a half, and he was really sick, and that's when he was doing. I think it was interferon D. Oh my God, I remembered it. It was flashback. It was a big experimental drug at the time. And he was doing injections, which hurt, and people couldn't do it. They dropped out of the trial because it hurt. And I said, wow, is this going to work? And that's when he said, no, it's too late for me. I'm just doing this so they can save someone after I'm gone. So, yeah. And so then he got really, really sick, and he went home. He said, my mom said they're taking me back to Tampa. And I remember he said, it's not the end. It's just a change in the relationship. And I know he didn't mean moving to Florida. And about 2 days later was Thanksgiving Day, and he died.
Oh, Allison. Boy, because of Steve Tracy, from then to now, you have done so many amazing things to help people live more complete lives in very challenging circumstances.
Everyone will be right back.
When you visit Simi Valley, California, you are stepping into the pages of history. Go from the pioneers to the presidents, explore beautiful wildflowers, hike through iconic Hollywood locations, and end your day aboard the actual Air Force One at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. Less than 15 minutes from Los Angeles and 30 minutes from Universal Studios, Simi Valley has small-town charm with big-time history. Go to visitsimivalley.com for more information. In addition to Visit Simi Valley, we also want to thank Alexander GMC of Simi Valley, Golden State Water Company, Marketingscape, Strathern Historical Society, and WM, formerly Waste Management, and Vista at Simi Valley. By the way, I just want to mention that the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary Cast Reunion Festival is going to be continuing its Little House Big Sky Movie Ranch tours beginning June 8th. And again, a second tour on June 15th. You can go to simivalleychamber.org and select Little House 50th Anniversary and then bus tickets to get your tickets. I will be there. Allison will be there. It's going to be fun, and there will be other members of the Little House cast there as these tours continue. We are very excited to be part of this. The 50th rolls on.
It just does not end.
Yay! That's so exciting. Okay, we're back with Alison Arngrim. Allison, because we're talking about some deep stuff, I'm going to continue, and then we'll lighten it up, I promise.
Okay.
But I just wanted to talk to you about, a common theme that we've discovered sort of within this past year or so is that idea of Little House as a safe space. And I know that in your book and in the infamous Larry King interview, you publicly decided to come out and discuss your years of SA, and you attribute being on Little House as being a godsend during that time. So can you talk about what prompted you to become public and how Little House was that safe space for you?
It's so crazy. The first time someone said, would you say Little House on the Prairie, Nellie Olson saved your life? I was like, oh, how cliche. That's really stupid. No, I didn't. Oh, wait, it did. Yes, yes, it did. Yes, it did. Boom. Because it did. I had not gone public for ages because, as you know, anyone who has suffered child sexual abuse knows you don't want to tell anybody. You don't want to talk about it. You avoid it like the plague. You think people could look at you and tell, oh my God. So you don't tell anybody. And then there was a phase people would sometimes go on talk shows, and and they would sensationalize it, make it so awful and terrible, and talk to them like, well, yeah, I don't want to do that. And it was only because I was working with Protect, the National Association to Protect Children, and we were changing laws across the country. We're getting legislation passed to better protect victims, to change the legal playing field, to increase penalties for people who do terrible, terrible, terrible things to children. And we were having a bit of a time of it in Sacramento because they wanted to keep an insane law on the books that it allowed lesser penalties for relatives who sexually abused children. If we were going to get 20 years, if it was a neighbor's child, if it was your own child, you were eligible for not only no jail time, but deferred entry of judgment, so you didn't have a record and you weren't a sex offender register. Nothing. It was bad, really bad. And it was in a bunch of states. And we did get that changed in multiple states. So this was going on. It was rather intense, as you can imagine. And we needed to go back in, and our beautiful Harlan, the publicist, said, how far you want to go on Larry King? He said, I'll go anywhere. What do I need to do? And he called them and said, I've
for the purpose of getting the awareness out.
Yes, to really to bring it down on I wanted to get out and say, here's what happened in Sacramento and why you need to contact these senators. And the way to do that, of course, and he called them up and said, I've brought you a lot of guests. Would you have Alison Arngrim, who is talking about? And they went, oh, wow, yeah. And so I had a little pre-interview and a thing, and I remember I said, who's coming on with me? I mean, I've got a multitude of people from the agency, executive directors and psychiatrists and doctors and lawyers and attorneys. And they said, no, just you. Or actually, the lady was a bit crass and said, what show were they on, honey? And she said, look, this is how TV works. Because you're on Little House on the Prairie, we can talk about this topic. We can talk about the people in Sacramento and the terrible law. We can talk about all of it. But because you were on Little House on the Prairie, anyway. Okay. I said, can I have someone on just to hold my hand? And she said, I know we just want you for the hour. And I've never met anybody less in need of hand-holding in my life, was what she said. Yeah, kind of that.
I'm just curious, as an aside.
Terrifying.
As an aside here, Larry King was an iconic figure in talk television. I mean, there's no one did an interview like Larry King did. Talk a little, and for a lot of our audience, they may not have any awareness of Larry King, but other parts of our audience will know him very well. Right. Who was Larry King in your estimation?
Larry King was this amazing dude who'd been in television and interviewing people for billions and billions of years, and he had a show, Larry King Live, and on CNN, and it was a huge honking deal. And very often, if you got on the show, there were multiple guests. Maybe you got the first 15 minutes, or you got a half an hour, or you shared it on a panel, unless you were like a president, a major elected official, or you were Elizabeth Taylor, or
you were Nellie Olson.
Or you were Nellie Olson. You did not get the hour. I remember calling my father and saying, I'm going Larry King. Who's on with you? Just me. Well, are you in the first half? I said, it's just the hour. The hour? And the screaming
your
of
dad
my
knew what that meant.
Who was all about publicity and thing. The fact that I was going to be talking about this horrible thing. And he was like, the hour, you're getting on Larry King for the hour. And I went, you do know what I'm talking about, right? Yes, that's terrible. But the hour, seriously, just you.
That is a publicist. Like your father was such a trip.
It was so showbiz. It's hysterical. I wrote about it in the book. I'm sitting there trying to break it to him going, well, I'm going to be talking about when I got molested and everything. He's like, yes, but the hour, really, just you? That's fantastic. And he was calling. He said, he inviting people over and talking about what he was going to serve for, have a cocktail thing and hors d'oeuvres. And I called the
How much detail did you go into on this?
A bit. When I called the people at Protect, I said, did you tell your other relatives? I said, yes, I told my father. They said, what is he doing? I said, he's calling a caterer. That's what happens. You grow up in show business. So Larry King was amazing.
Allison, this is well before you had written your book. So this is really years. Telling the world.
Had not gone public. So Larry was awesome. He sat me down, and we were not live. We were not live.
Omaha, Nebraska. You're on with Nellie Olson. And it's like, it's just, he was what a delivery he had.
He sat me down and said, I may ask some questions that you don't want to answer. We've already had a long discussion, of course, with our producers and our attorneys and everyone, that you're not going to say this, or this, and you are going to say this or this. We've already been over it 8 million times. So when I ask you a question that you already were told you're not answering, don't answer it. In fact, he said, you can tell me to go to hell. I don't care what you say. He says, but I'm not asking it to be horrible to you. It's just I'm the voice of the audience. They're watching. They're thinking in their heads, why didn't I just ask it? He said, so please don't feel terrible if I ask you a question. That's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to hurt you.
Right.
Who does this? He was so cool. And then the big thing he did, they ran the clips from Sacramento that showed the senators, and they said www.protect.org, and Larry, or as he said, www.protect.org, and he gave the address of our nonprofit Protect multiple times. And at Protect, we were ready. We put up all ready to go for when people came. The list of the senators who'd voted no on our legislation, and their names and their phone numbers and their fax numbers and their email at Sacramento. And we kind of crashed the service at Sacramento, maybe just a little bit, shut down the switch. And we caused a scene. We caused quite the scene. And boy, we had another meeting pretty darn jolly quick. And Senator reintroduced the bill. And they were so much more polite to us the second time we went to Sacramento. It was like, would you like some coffee? Yes, either. And they were so much nicer.
Look at you looking very business-like.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
I mean, you look very corporate. You're looking there.
I was come in a suit and little clipboards and raise hell. And we were serious. We had attorneys and attorney generals from different states and doctors. We were not fooling around. And boy, they really knew we weren't fooling around. When I went on Larry King and busted all their heads, it became quite the thing. And suddenly they were really interested in passing our bill. It was amazing how that happened. Power of the prairie, as Bob likes to say. Never underestimate the power of the prairie.
I mean, how Nellie and the prairie has served humanity for
but I did talk about, he said we are going to have to talk about, and I did talk about that. It started at 6, it went till I was 9. I was sexually abused, and it was bad, and I went to many therapists, and many things happened. But the weird part is when I got Little House, it was 12. Okay, adolescence is when it's the worst. You hit puberty.
To have it happen to you.
Well, to have it happen. If you're holding this in since 6, 7, whatever time happened, and now you're a teenager. Now it's the worst time anyway, junior high, you think everyone's looking at you. What if that's the secret you're keeping, and you're trying to navigate life as a teenager with that on your shoulders and in your head? And it's awful. And so the teenage years, and that's usually when things sort of hit the fan. You see people who've suffered abuse and have post-traumatic stress disorder turn to drugs, act out, run away from home, et cetera, et cetera. That's when things hit the fan. And there I am hitting that age, and nobody knows. And then I get this show where I'm suddenly accountable to people. I have a job. I got to show up on Monday morning, and people are really nice to me, and a set where everyone is so respectful and supportive and kind, and I have a job, and I feel like I'm doing something important, and I'm part of something, and I have a reason to get up in the morning. And then the other thing, when you have post-traumatic stress disorder, you've been abused, uncontrolled rage is just kind of sitting there with nowhere to go. And then I had to stop, and they said, now break everything in this room, please. And could you do that again?
Wow.
And
Therapy.
could you scream at the top of your lungs and punch this girl in the face a couple times? I went, really? The hell you say? Wow. How much am I paying for this? And it was massive therapy, which I didn't realize at the time. But as it went on, I went, this feels awfully good. Oh, wow, wait, this is working. And then I was there for 7 freaking years. The entire teenage years, which is where a person normally would go off the rails when they're dealing with all this crap by themselves. I wasn't by myself, and I had somewhere to dump all my rage, and I had to be somewhere on Monday, so I couldn't go completely crazy. It was amazing. So yes. And then when I got done and I got my trust fund, I joke, but true, we had enough money to pay for the therapy. So all around, in 6, 7 different ways, I have to admit that being on Little House on the Prairie and being Nellie Olson absolutely was a total lifesaver and did wonders.
Well, and you have another question about the embracing of panel. You have a question about that. Let's ask that question.
Yeah, I mean, you've post Little House on the Prairie, post all of this, you have embraced Nellie and the ownership of your, Prairie Bitch title. So how did the book come to be, and the decision to publish the book?
Well, the embracing thing started kind of early. I've always been, it was kind of like can't beat 'em, join 'em problem. Like somewhere around the time I got hit in the face with the orange soda during the Christmas parade. Maybe it was then. Somewhere along the way I went, okay, I'm the villain. There's people who are kind of like, boo, we hate you, but they seem to be enjoying that. Okay, it's a thing. Well, okay, that's a thing. Right. And then after the show, I'm sure you did. Well, I'm going to do other things now, and everyone's going to forget about that show. It was lovely. Right. But that was a thing of its time, and we're all going to move on. And then they did not, did they? And then the DVDs came out, and it got worse. And all of us from the show who thought we'd move on went, oh my God, this thing's not going away. And I went, it's really not going away. And I started in the 90s. I did I Love the 70s and all that stuff. Sure. And people seemed to love that I was sort of like sending it up. But I went, there's something here. And I was doing stand-up. I started doing stand-up as a teenager, and I went, there's a thing here. And it escalated. And then when things just got really nutty and it just got more and more, I was starting getting recognized more than I did when I was on the show. And I went, well, I guess this is a thing. We'll do this then. And it seemed to work for me. And it was in 2002 that I at Club Fez.
22 years ago.
I went to Club Fez, where Joan Rivers had been playing, with Mr. Chip Duckett, who handled Joan Rivers at the time, said, can you do an hour and a half? Could you maybe also be a little bluer? I'm like, a little dirty. Really? Okay, hell you say. So I could do that. And 90 minutes. Who has 90 minutes? Ugh. So I'm like, writing half the act on the plane on the way over. And I get there and I think, well, I'll do a question and answer segment. People like that. The wig. I can do something with the wig. Yes. And next thing I know, I do this show, 90 minutes. I did 2 hours and they had an encore.
Yeah,
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
People went nuts. I said, I guess this is the show now. And it was called Confessions of a Prairie Bitch. And we said, this is the show now. Doing it ever since. So a nice man, a literary agent, comes to my show a couple years later at, I think, the Cutting Room. And we didn't get to talk that night. So then he messages me on Facebook. At the time, not everyone I knew was on Facebook. Many actresses, especially older actresses, I'm not on Facebook. I go, I just got a literary agent on Facebook. Maybe you want to sign up. And he hit me up and said, is there a book to go with that show?
Yeah, right.
I said, there could be. How soon do you need one? And he's like, I need 4 chapters. I have 4 chapters.
Yeah, I mean, you are. How many? So this book has been out now since
2010.
Since 2010. Any idea how many copies you've sold?
I know
I've asked you this before.
I know. In the first couple months, I know I sold 18,000 books because I still have the thing. You sold 18,000. I sold 18,000 books. And then after that, I lost count. I don't know. It's a lot. It's been reprinted. I remember talking to someone at HarperCollins. I was ordering more books. Well, we're getting them from a different warehouse now, ship them because, it's been in so many printings. Sorry. So it's been a lot. And then, of course, the Kindle, it was huge in Kindle. And then I did the audiobook much later. Now, everyone does their audiobook. They've barely finished printing the cover and they're doing the audiobook.
Right.
Back then.
Well, because people are absorbing books that way so much now.
In 2010, it wasn't quite a thing yet. Right. So a few years later.
Back in 2010.
It became a thing. And I get a call, God, you got to do the audiobook. Oh, I guess I'm doing the audiobook. And I did the audiobook, which is huge. People love it. So that became a thing. And then it's like the show supports the book and the book supports the show. And so I go all over the country doing my show and selling the book. And it's like, did the book start the show? No, the show started the book. Wait, that makes no sense. But here I am.
It's all worked. When we come back, we're going to do a version of our Little House 50th anniversary rapid fire with Allison and take us to a break, Pamela.
Everyone will be right back with rapid fire and some of your questions.
When you visit Simi Valley, California, you're stepping into the pages of history. Go from the pioneers to the presidents, explore beautiful wildflowers, hike through iconic Hollywood locations, and end your day aboard the actual Air Force One at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. Less than 15 minutes from Los Angeles and 30 minutes from Universal Studios, Simi Valley has small town charm with big time history. Go to visitsimivalley.com for more information. We also want to thank Cozy TV, Rodex, Modern Prairie, Price Ford, City of Simi Valley, Adventist Health, Simi Valley. Thank you for all of your support of the Little House 50th anniversary podcast.
And we're back. Okay, now let's lighten some things up. Ready? Ready, Allison? We're going to do
it's like word association.
Quick fire, rapid quick fire, no thinking aloud, and I'm going to go quick. Okay. Are you ready?
Okay.
Let's start the clock. Here we go. Fame or fortune?
Fame.
Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Home cooking or eating out?
Ooh, so close. Home cooking.
Chicken or beef?
Oh, chicken.
Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Coke. Diet.
Wine or whiskey?
Wine. Ugh, whiskey.
George Carlin or Robin Williams?
George
That's
Carlin.
Tough. Yeah, that's a tough
George
one.
Carlin.
Okay, George Carlin.
Original.
Lucille Ball or Joan Rivers?
Whoa, really? Jeez.
I know, that's
damn.
Can we say tie?
Tie.
Okay, tie. I'll give you that one. Richard Pryor or Chris Rock?
Oh, Richard Pryor.
Texting or talking?
Texting. I kind of like it now.
Yeah.
More than talking?
I like texting.
Okay, go ahead.
It's handy. It's very handy. I'm very modern.
The clock is on. Okay. Football or baseball?
Which one is the round ball? Yeah, I have no clue. I'll say baseball.
Same.
Baseball.
Hero or villain? I know the answer.
Yeah, really, seriously? Villain.
I know. Cash or plastic?
Cash.
Filmed or live?
Ooh, live.
Oh, toilet paper, over or under?
Over, absolutely. It's crime against humanity. It's over. Over is the only way, sir.
Caroline or Harriet?
Harriet.
Charles or Nels?
Nels.
Isaiah Edwards or Jonathan Garvey?
Jonathan Garvey. Teddy
Albert or Andy?
Andy.
Ooh.
Those eyelashes.
Adam or Almanzo?
Adam. Sorry. Team Adam.
Wow, there's always a few.
That's breaking
But
news.
they had no Team
Nellie
Percival
gets Team
shirts.
Adam.
They had no Team Percival shirts. Team Adam, sorry.
Keep asking.
Pig farmer or Percival?
Percival.
Natural curls or wig?
Oh, God. Neither. Tie, but for horrible.
Prairie tale or confessions of a prairie bitch?
Confessions of a Prairie Bitch.
And that's it. You have played Little House Rapid Fire. Thank you, Allison. Okay.
Questions.
Needed that. All right. Now we're here with some of your listener and viewer questions. We've got some really good ones. First question, Joanne Silvani Kilroy asks, Allison, what is the one question you're tired of answering?
I do talk about the 10 questions in my show. Were you really a bitch? Was that really your hair? What was Michael Landon really like? Are you and Melissa Gilbert really fans? Where did you film the show? What's your favorite episode? How much did you get paid? Do you still get residuals? Is Albert gay? And what the hell is wrong with baby Gary?
Bada bing, bada boom.
I guess I don't know the which is the wig, which is the hair. We had the pictures out on the table. Which is the hair? Which is the wig? Did you like the wig? No, the wig was evil and uncomfortable. A torture device. Yeah. I did tell people the other day. I said, take your hands, put your fingernails like this, dig your nails into your head like this. Now stay that way for 9 hours. Okay, there you go.
Next question.
Yes. Next question. Okay. Cat Lane 242 asks, I'm just finishing your book. First, it's amazing.
Thank you.
First book I've read that fast. That's what she said. You talk about Melissa Sue and not really having a great relationship with her. Have you since been able to discuss with her how you felt on the set of Little House on the Prairie?
No, and I'd like to. I mean, tween girls. Anybody worked with tween girls? 12, 13, 14,
Yeah,
11?
I actually have.
You did. Yeah.
Yes.
Warzone. Yes. Okay.
They're horrible
Take
people.
Take a bunch of 12-year-old girls, lock them in a sound stage together and say, here, make a show. No, you can't leave. And, you're all in competition with each other, by the way. Ha ha, have fun. So things were bound to happen. It's a miracle that we got along as well as we did. It's a miracle that nobody hit anybody or anything or went nuts. I think we were teenagers, and that she just didn't
and very
like
different
me.
people at your course. I think
it was
no question.
I've
people.
always said I will buy the first pitcher of margaritas if she wants to chat. I think we're both really, really old now, and
You're not really old.
I think I'm
You're
older. I'm older than hers.
Okay.
I say that. So I think we're definitely old enough that we're different enough people that we could probably talk and find out that we have massive amounts of things in common and be fine.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah,
Great.
totally.
Prairie.aesthetic wants to know, and a lot of people want to know this, who was your favorite guest star to work with?
Patricia Neal.
Ooh, love.
Patricia Neal. Oh my God, Patricia Neal. She interacted with us kids the most. We hung out in her dressing room, and she was trying to get her memory back. She didn't remember she had a stroke. She had to learn to walk and talk all over again, and then she went back to acting, and it was like, she was amazing.
She had a great voice. I just remember that wonderful
sort of scratchy,
voice.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
She would memorize all of our names and birthdays and the celebrity that our birthday was the closest to, and then like 3 days later go, your name is, and blah, blah, blah. And it was all because she was doing memory games. But she would hang out with us kids, and she was darling. And I later made a little independent film with her too. She was cool.
Next question.
Okay, great. Sarah Schneider wants to know, how was your decision to leave the show received by Steve, since that meant he would leave the show too? And in regards to Richard and Catherine, did it feel like you were leaving your parents to start your own life?
Yes, exactly. Well, that was the thing. I had grown up. I was 19. I'd been on the show. I'd been all through junior high, all through high school, moved out of my parents' braces on, braces off. I'm still on the show. It was a little weird. It was like time to do something. I wanted to do something else. Of course, managers and agents going, duh, you're over 18. You can work more than 9 hours. Maybe you should be open, available for hire. And the usual thing, ask for a raise, ask for more episodes, ask for less episodes.
Good luck with that.
Right. And they were like, no.
Good luck with that.
My agent even said, okay, less episodes, so she just has more time off. You'll be paying less money. But So, and I think if I'd known it was 2 years, but it was 4 years. They were asking for 5 or something crazy. And I was like,
that was just boilerplate.
Yeah,
it's what
it was
they asked
boilerplate,
for.
and they were sticking with the boilerplate. It was crazy. My father said, "You'll be like Miss Kitty on Gunsmoke. You'll be there forever." And I was like, "No." So I said, "Yeah." And so it was a tough one, but I went, "Yeah, it's time to move." And then Steve called me. It was like, "Say what?" Because of course he was kind of used as a bargaining chip. They called him, went, "You think she's leaving the show? You can't go back," in order that we would fight about it.
Sure.
And he was like, "Well, I don't like it." He said, "But God, I would do the same thing. But I'm an actor. I would have totally blown them off and walked away too. What are you, crazy?" So. Yeah.
Next question.
Okay. I did not write this question. Here we go. The now_OC asks, besides The Little House, what has been one of your favorite projects to work on? I absolutely loved you and Pamela in Living on a Prairie.
I didn't write that. It is one of my favorite. Living on a Prairie is one of my favorites. That scene where I am the kind of cheesy therapist life coach. And to say, it's a show, it's a TV show, really, seriously, is so fabulous. It's on my reel and on my thing. It's one of my best pieces of footage. My agent sends it to people. We love it. It's my finest work. I said, I love that. I love that. I love a play I did called Flirting with Morty. Morty being Mortal Death's nickname. He's Morty for short. And it's really weird and insane. And there were flashbacks and dream sequences. And I'm the ghost of the evil, dead, abusive mother. And I did things
like you do
cannot be described on stage.
Last question.
Yes.
Last question. Okay. Valerie28 says, Allison, I had an amazing time at the Simi Valley Festival. Can you share a favorite moment or part of that festival?
Jonathan showing up. I mean, what the... So I'm like literally taking pictures of his empty table going and putting it on Facebook, TikTok. And then it got to the point, fever pitch. Everyone on Facebook is only thinking of one thing. And I just typed, he's here. And nobody had to ask who I meant or where, right? They all went, ah! And then it was because group photo. And it was like Calvin had to go get it. It was like, it's a group photo. Did you get in here? And this tall man in a suit with a man but comes in, Keanu Reeves, Matthew McConaughey kind of thing.
It was quite an entrance.
It was an entrance, lollipop.
Yeah, it really was.
And he comes in and we all flip out. And yes, crying, hugging, screaming. Hadn't seen him since '83. It was that. Yeah, that would do it. Blew my mind.
The panel that you did together, that was
he wouldn't talk
a pretty
to you.
Spectacular moment.
And he wouldn't talk to her till I showed up like I was his attorney or something. I was like, what is that? I don't know.
Odd.
It was very crazy.
Very epic.
I'm not talking until Allison gets her.
So, Pamela, you need to take us out now.
Take us out, man.
Thank you, everyone, for your questions. I promise there are tons more, and I will use them for future episodes. I promise. Yes. So don't feel left out. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Allison, thank you so much for being our, special guest these past 2 episodes. It's been pretty incredible. You're just a lovely, lovely human being.
You are epic, Allison. You are epic.
And so if you want to check us out, what we're all
much.
doing, upcoming events, what they're up to, what we're going for, check out our socials, Little House 50 Podcast, or our website, www.littlehouse50podcast.com. Oh, also, just a little snippet of me telling you, our merch store is down. It is under renovation at the moment. Very exciting things are happening with it. So a lot of you are asking about what's happening. I will keep you posted on what's happening, but it's exciting, so stay tuned.
One last plug for the tour. I just want to say, Simi Valleychamber.org. Check out the Little House 50th Anniversary section if you want tickets to the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary Big Sky Movie Ranch Tour, which begins again this weekend, June 8th, and continues next weekend, the 15th, and that will not be all. There will be many more opportunities. If you're local, it's a great chance to join us.
Yes, it's epic. I cried. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Tune in next week and have a great week. Everybody, Bob, get the wig. Let's fly.
The wig.
Our beloved Bob, who we know more about in the documentary.